Mr. Speaker, the President's Cabinet.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States. Keep looking this way. Look over here, Mr. President. Good to see you, Mr. President. This is about you. This is about the soul of the nation. Save democracy. President, I'm watching the video right now. Love you, Mr. President.
How are you doing? Today is the 59th anniversary of this summer. Oh, good. 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 All right, Mr. President. Here we go. Oh, no. You got it? I can't.
This guy has completed technically. All right. This one here.
Thank you for everything. We gotta get a good When you announce the honors right, you know who's wearing it for you.
You're going to do great. They're going to be yelling loud.
They're going to be able to. Pete, how are you doing? Good to see you. All right, we're going this way? Yes, sir. Tony. Thank you. David Jill. Good evening. Good evening. If I were smart, I'd go home now. Mr. Speaker, Madam Vice President, members of Congress, my fellow Americans, in January 1941, Franklin Roosevelt came to this chamber to speak to the nation, and he said, "I address you at a moment unprecedented in the history of the Union. Hitler was on the march. War was raging in Europe. President Roosevelt's purpose was to wake up Congress and alert the American people that this was no ordinary time. Freedom and democracy were under assault in the world. Tonight, I come to this same chamber to address the nation. Now, it's we who face an unprecedented moment in the history of the Union. And yes, my purpose tonight is to wake up the Congress and alert the American people that this is no ordinary moment either. Not since President Lincoln and the Civil War have freedom and democracy been under assault at home as they are today. What makes our moment rare is that freedom and democracy are under attack both at home and overseas at the very same time. Overseas, Putin of Russia is on the march, invading Ukraine and sowing chaos throughout Europe and beyond. If anybody in this room thinks Putin will stop at Ukraine, I assure you he will not. But Ukraine can stop Putin. Ukraine can stop Putin if we stand with Ukraine and provide the weapons that needs to defend itself. That is all. That is all Ukraine is asking. They're not asking for American soldiers. In fact, there are no American soldiers at war in Ukraine, and I'm determined to keep it that way. But now, assistance to Ukraine is being blocked by those who want to walk away from our world leadership. It wasn't long ago when a Republican president named Ronald Reagan thundered, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." Now my predecessor, a former Republican president, tells Putin, quote, "Do whatever the hell you want." That's a quote. A former president actually said that, bowing down to a Russian leader. I think it's outrageous, it's dangerous, and it's unacceptable. America is a founding member of NATO, the military alliance of democratic nations created after World War II to prevent war and keep the peace. And today, we've made NATO stronger than ever. We welcomed Finland to the alliance last year. And just this morning, Sweden officially joined, and their minister is here tonight. I'm going to stand up. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And they know how to fight. Mr. Prime Minister, welcome to NATO, the strongest military alliance the world has ever seen. I say this to Congress. We have to stand up to Putin. Send me a bipartisan national security bill. History is literally watching. History is watching. If the United States walks away, it will put Ukraine at risk. Europe is at risk. The free world will be at risk, emboldening others to do what they wish to do us harm. My message to President Putin, who I've known for a long time, is simple. We will not walk away. We will not bow down. I will not bow down. In a literal sense, history is watching. History is watching. Just like history watched 3 years ago on January 6th, when insurrectionists stormed this very Capitol and placed a dagger to the throat of American democracy. Many of you were here on that darkest of days. We all saw with our own eyes The insurrectionists were not patriots. They'd come to stop the peaceful transfer of power, to overturn the will of the people. January 6th lies about the 2020 election and the plots to steal the election posed a gravest threat to U.S. democracy since the Civil War. But they failed. America stood. America stood strong and democracy prevailed. We must be honest. The threat to democracy must be defended. My predecessor and some of you here seek to bury the truth about January 6th. I will not do that. This is the moment to speak the truth and to bury the lies. Here's the simple truth. You can't love your country only when you win. As I've done ever since being elected to office, I ask all of you without regard to party to join together and defend democracy. Remember your oath of office of defending against all threats, foreign and domestic. Respect free and fair elections, restore trust in our institutions, and make clear political violence has absolutely no place in America, zero place. Again, it's not hyperbole to suggest history is watching. We're watching. Your children and grandchildren will read about this day and what we do. History is watching another assault on freedom. Joining us tonight is Latoya Beasley, a social worker from Birmingham, Alabama. 14 months ago, she and her husband welcomed a baby girl thanks to the miracle of IVF. She scheduled treatments to have that second child. But the Alabama Supreme Court shut down IVF treatments across the state, unleashed by a Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade. She was told her dream would have to wait. What her family had got through should never have happened. Unless Congress acts, it could happen again. So tonight, let's stand up for families like hers. To my friends across the aisle, don't keep this waiting any longer. Guarantee the right to AVF. Guarantee it nationwide. Like most Americans, I believe Roe v. Wade got it right. I thank Vice President Harris for being an incredible leader, defending reproductive freedom, and so much more. Thank you. My predecessor came to office determined to see Roe v. Wade overturned. He's the reason it was overturned, and he brags about it. Look at the chaos that has resulted. Joining us tonight is Kate Cox, the wife and mother from Dallas. She's become pregnant again and had a fetus with a fatal condition. Her doctor told Kate that her own life and her ability to have children in the future were at risk if she didn't act. Because Texas law banned her ability to act, Kate and her husband had to leave the state to get what she needed. What her family got through should have never happened as well, but it's happening in too many others. There are state laws banning the freedom to choose, criminalizing doctors, forcing survivors of rape and incest to leave their states to get the treatment they need. Many of you in this chamber and my predecessor are promising to pass a national ban on reproductive freedom. My God, what freedom else would you take away? Look, it's a decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court majority wrote the following. And with all due respect, justices, women are not without electoral power. Electoral or political power. You're about to realize just how much you're right about that. Clearly. clearly. Those bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade have no clue about the power of women, but they found out when reproductive freedom was on the ballot. We won in 2022 and 2020, and we'll win again in 2024. If you, the American people, send me a Congress that supports the right to choose, I promise you, I'll restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land again. Folks, America cannot go back. I'm here tonight to show what I believe is the way forward, because I know how far we come. 4 years ago next week, before I came to office, the country was hit by the worst pandemic and the worst economic crisis in a century. Remember the fear, record losses? Remember the spikes in crime and the murder rate, raging virus that took more than 1 million American lives of loved ones, millions left behind? Mental health crisis of isolation and loneliness. A president, my predecessor, failed the most basic presidential duty that he owes to American people, the duty to care. I think that's unforgivable. I came to office determined to get us through one of the toughest periods in the nation's history. We have. It doesn't make news, but news in 1,000 cities and towns, the American people are writing the greatest comeback story never told. So let's tell the story here. Tell it here and now. America's comeback is building the future of American possibilities, building an economy from the middle out and the bottom up, not the top down, investing in all America, in all Americans, to make sure everyone has a fair shot. We leave no one behind. The pandemic no longer controls our lives. The vaccine that saved us from COVID are now being used to beat cancer, turning setback into comeback. That's what America does. That's what America does. Folks, my inherited economy is on the brink. Now our economy is literally the envy of the world. 15 million new jobs in just 3 years, a record, a record. Unemployment at 50-year lows. A record 16 million Americans are starting small businesses, and each one is a literal act of hope. With historic job growth and small business growth for Black and Hispanics and Asian Americans, 800,000 new manufacturing jobs in America and counting. Where is it written we can't be the manufacturing capital of the world? We are, we will. More people have health insurance today. More people have health insurance today than ever before. The racial wealth gap is as small as it's been in 20 years. Wages keep going up, inflation keeps coming down. Inflation has dropped from 9% to 3%, the lowest in the world and tending lower. The landing is and will be soft. And now, instead of importing foreign products and exporting American jobs, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs. Right here in America, where they belong. And it takes time, but the American people are beginning to feel it. Consumer studies show consumer confidence is soaring. Buy America has been the law of the land since the 1930s. Past administrations, including my predecessor, including some Democrats as well in the past, failed to buy American. Not anymore. On my watch, federal projects that you fund, like helping build American roads, bridges, and highways, will be made with American products and built by American workers. Creating good paying American jobs. And thanks to our CHIPS and Science Act, the United States is investing more in research and development than ever before. During the pandemic, a shortage of semiconductors, chips, that drove up the price of everything from cell phones to automobiles. And by the way, we invented those chips right here in America. Well, instead of having to import them, private companies are now investing billions of dollars to build new chip factories here in America, creating tens of thousands of jobs. Many of those jobs paying $100,000 a year and don't require a college degree. In fact, my policies have attracted $650 billion in private sector investment in clean energy, advanced manufacturing, creating tens of thousands of jobs here in America. And thanks to our bipartisan infrastructure law, 46,000 new projects have been announced all across your communities. And by the way, I noticed some of you strongly voted against it, or they're cheering on that money coming in. I like it. I'm with you. I'm with you. And if any of you don't want that money in your district, just let me know. Modernizing our roads and bridges, ports and airports, public transit systems. Removing poisonous lead pipes so every child can drink clean water without risk of brain damage. Providing affordable high-speed internet for every American, no matter where you live, urban, suburban, or rural communities, in red states and blue states. Record investments in tribal communities. Because of my investment in family farms, because I invested in family farms led by my Secretary of Agriculture, who knows more about this than anybody I know, we're better able to stay in the family for those farms and their children and grandchildren won't have to leave home to make a living. It's transformative. The great comeback story is Belvidere, Illinois, home to an auto plant for nearly 60 years. Before I came to office, the plant was on its way to shutting down. Thousands of workers feared for their livelihoods. Hope was fading. Then I was elected to office, and we raised the Belvidere repeatedly with auto companies, knowing unions would make all the difference. The UAW worked like hell to keep the plant open and get these jobs back, and together we succeeded. Instead of auto factories shutting down, auto factories reopening, a new state-of-the-art battery factory is being built to power those cars there at the same. The folks of Belvidere, I say, instead of your town being left behind, your community is moving forward again. Because instead of watching auto jobs of the future go overseas, 4,000 union jobs with higher wages are building the future in Belvidere right here in America. Here tonight is UAW President Shawn Fain, a great friend and a great labor leader. Shawn, where are you? Stand up. And Dawn Sims, a third-generation worker, UAW worker at Belvidere. Shawn, I was proud to be the first president to stand on the picket line, and today, Dawn has a good job in her hometown, providing stability for her family and pride and dignity as well. Showing once again, Wall Street didn't build America. They're not bad guys. They didn't build it, though. The middle class built the country, and unions built the middle class. I say to the American people, when America gets knocked down, we get back up. We keep going. That's America. That's you, the American people. It's because of you America's coming back. It's because of you our future is brighter. It's because of you that tonight we can proudly say the state of our union is strong and getting stronger. Tonight, I want to talk about the future of possibilities that we can build together. A future where the days of trickle-down economics are over and the wealthy and the biggest corporations no longer get all the tax breaks. And by the way, I understand corporations. I come from a state that has more corporations invested than every one of your states in the state of the United States combined. And I represented it for 36 years. I'm not anti-corporation, but I grew up in a home where trickle-down economics didn't put much on my dad's kitchen table. That's why I determined to turn things around so middle class does well. When they do well, the poor go way up and the wealthy still do very well. We all do well. And there's more to do to make sure you're feeling the benefits of all we're doing. Americans pay more for prescription drugs than anywhere in the world. It's wrong, and I'm ending it. For the law that I proposed and signed, not one of you Republican buddies voted for it. We finally beat Big Pharma. Instead of paying $400 a month or thereabouts for insulin with diabetes, and it only costs $10 to make, they only get paid $35 a month now and still make a healthy profit. And I want to, but what to do next? I want to cap the cost of insulin $35 a month for every American who needs it. Everyone. For years, people have talked about it, but finally we got it done and gave Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices on prescription drugs, just like the VA is able to do for veterans. That's not just saving seniors money, it's saving taxpayers money. We cut the federal deficit by $160 billion. Because Medicare will no longer have to pay those exorbitant prices to Big Pharma. This year, Medicare is negotiating lower prices for some of the costliest drugs on the market to treat everything from heart disease to arthritis. It's now time to go further and give Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices for 500 different drugs over the next decade. They're making a lot of money, guys. And they'll still be extremely profitable. Will not only save lives, it will save taxpayers another $200 billion. Starting next year, the same law caps total prescription drug costs for seniors on Medicare at $2,000 a year, even for expensive cancer drugs that cost $10,000, $12,000, $15,000. I want to cap prescription drug costs at $2,000 a year for everyone. Folks, I'm going to get in trouble for saying that, but anyone to get in Air Force One and fly to Toronto, Berlin, Moscow, and well, even Moscow, probably. And bring your prescription with you, and I promise you I'll get it for you for 40% the cost you're paying now. Same company, same drug, same place. Folks, the Affordable Care Act, the old Obamacare, it's still a very big deal. Over 100 million of you can no longer be denied health insurance because of pre-existing condition. But my predecessor and many in this chamber want to take this prescription drug away by repealing Affordable Care Act. I'm not going to let that happen. We stopped you 50 times before and we'll stop you again. In fact, I'm not only protecting it, I'm expanding it. They enacted tax credits of $800 per person per year, reduce healthcare costs for millions of working families. That tax credit expires next year. I want to make that savings permanent. To state the obvious, women are more than half our population, but research on women's health has always been underfunded. That's why we're launching the first ever White House initiative on women's health research, led by Jill, doing an incredible job as First Lady. To pass my plan for $12 billion to transfer women's health research and benefit millions of lives all across America. I know the cost of housing is so important to you. If inflation keeps coming down, mortgage rates will come down as well, and the Fed acknowledges that. But I'm not waiting. I want to provide an annual tax credit that will give Americans $400 a month for the next 2 years as mortgage rates come down, to put toward their mortgages when they buy their first home or trade up for a little more space. Just for 2 years. And my administration is also eliminating title insurance on federally backed mortgages. When you refinance your home, you can save $1,000 or more as a consequence. For millions of renters, we're cracking down on big landlords who use antitrust law, who break antitrust laws by price fixing and driving up rents. We've cut red tape so builders can get federally financing, which is already helping build a record 1.7 million new housing units nationwide. Now pass and build and renovate 2 million affordable homes and bring those rents down. To remain the strongest economy in the world, we need to have the best education system in the world. And I suspect all of you, want to give every child, a good start by providing access to preschool for 3 and 4 years old. You know, I think I pointed out last year, that children coming from broken homes where there's no books, they're not read to, not spoken to very often, start school, kindergarten, or first grade, having heard 1 million fewer words spoken. Well, studies show that children who go to preschool are nearly 50% more likely to finish high school, go on to earn a 2- and 4-year degree, no matter what their background is. I met a year and a half ago with the leaders of the Business Roundtable. They were mad that they were angry. I said, well, they were discussing why I wanted to spend money on education. I pointed out to them as vice president, I met with over 182 of those folks. Don't hold me to the exact number. And I asked them what they need most, the CEOs. And you've had the same experience on both sides of the aisle. They say a better educated workforce, right? So I looked at them and I say, I come from Delaware. DuPont used to be the 8th largest corporation in the world. And every new enterprise they bought, they educated the workforce to that enterprise. But none of you do that anymore. Why are you angry with me providing you the opportunity for the best educated workforce in the world? And they all looked at me and said, I think you're right. I want to expand high quality tutoring and summer learning to see that every child learns to read by 3rd grade. I'm also connecting local businesses and high schools so students get hands-on experience and a path to good paying job, whether or not they go to college. And I want to make sure the college is more affordable. Let's continue increasing the Pell Grants to working and middle-class families and increase record investments in HBCUs and minority-serving institutions, including Hispanic institutions. When I was told I couldn't universally just change the way in which we dealt with student loans, I fixed 2 student loan programs that already existed to reduce the burden of student debt for nearly 4 million Americans, including nurses, firefighters, and others in public service. Like Keenan Jones, a public educator from Minnesota, who's here with us tonight. Keenan, where are you? Keenan, thank you. He's educated hundreds of students so they can go to college. Now he's able to help, after debt forgiveness, get his own daughter to college. And folks, look, such relief is good for the economy because folks are now able to buy a home, start a business, start a family. While we're at it, I want to give public school teachers a raise. And by the way, the first couple of years, we cut the deficit. Now, let me speak to the question of fundamental fairness for all Americans. I've been delivering real results in fiscally responsible ways. We've already cut the federal deficit. We've already cut the federal deficit over $1 trillion. I signed the bipartisan deal to cut another $1 trillion in the next decade. It's my goal to cut the federal deficit another $3 trillion by making big corporations and the very wealthy finally beginning to pay their fair share. Look, I'm a capitalist. If you want to make or can make $1 million or millions of bucks, that's great. Just pay your fair share in taxes. A fair tax code is how we invest things and make this country great. Healthcare, education, defense, and so much more. But here's the deal. The last administration enacted a $2 trillion tax cut, overwhelmingly benefit the top 1%, the very wealthy and the biggest corporations, and exploded the federal deficit. They added more to the national debt than any presidential term in American history. Check the numbers. Folks at home, does anybody really think the tax code is fair? Do you really think the wealthy and big corporations need another $2 trillion tax break? I sure don't. I'm going to keep fighting like hell to make it fair. Under my plan, nobody earning less than $400,000 a year will pay an additional penny in federal taxes. Nobody, not one penny. And they haven't yet. In fact, the child tax credit I passed during the pandemic cut taxes for millions of working families and cut child poverty in half. Restore that child tax credit. No child should go hungry in this country. The way to make the tax code fair is to make big corporations and the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Remember, in 2020, 55 of the biggest companies in America made $40 billion and paid zero in federal income tax. Zero. Not anymore. Thanks to the law I wrote and we signed, big companies have to pay a minimum of 15%. But that's still less than working people pay in federal taxes. It's time to raise corporate minimum tax to at least 21%. So every big corporation finally begins to pay their fair share. I also want to end tax breaks for big pharma, big oil, private jets, massive executive pay when it's only supposed to be $1 million that can be deducted. They can pay them $20 million if they want, but deduct $1 million. End it now. You know, there are 1,000 billionaires in America. You know what the average federal tax is for those billionaires? No. They're making great sacrifices, 8.2%. That's far less than the vast majority of Americans pay. No billionaire should pay a lower federal tax rate than a teacher, a sanitation worker, or a nurse. I propose a minimum tax for billionaires of 25%, just 25%. You know what that would raise? That would raise $500 billion over the next 10 years. And imagine what that could do for America. Imagine a future with affordable child care. Millions of families can get they need to go to work to help grow the economy. Imagine a future with paid leave, because no one should have to choose between working and taking care of their sick family member. Imagine the future of home care and elder care, and people living with disabilities so they can stay in their homes and family caregivers can finally get the pay they deserve. Tonight, let's all agree once again to stand up for seniors. Many of my friends on the other side of the aisle want to put Social Security on the chopping block. If anyone here tries to cut Social Security, Medicare, or raise the retirement age, I will stop you. The working people who built this country pay more into Social Security than millionaires and billionaires do. It's not fair. We have two ways to go. Republicans can cut Social Security and give more tax breaks to the wealthy. That's the proposal. Oh no, you guys don't want another $2 trillion tax cut? I kind of thought that's what your plan was. Well, that's good to hear. You're not going to cut another $2 trillion to the super wealthy. That's good to hear. I'll protect and strengthen Social Security and make the wealthy pay their fair share. Look, too many corporations raise prices to pad their profits, charging more and more for less and less. That's why we're cracking down on corporations engaged in price gouging and deceptive pricing, from food to healthcare to housing. In fact, the snack companies think you won't notice if they change the size of the bag and put a hell of a lot fewer, same size bag, put fewer chips in it. No, I'm not joking. It's called shrinkflation. Pass Bobby Casey's bill and stop this. I really mean it. You probably all saw that commercial on Snickers bars. You get charged the same amount, and you got about, I don't know, 10% fewer Snickers in it. Look, I'm also getting rid of junk fees, those hidden fees at the end of your bill that are there without your knowledge. My administration announced we're cutting credit card late fees from $32 to $8. Banks and credit card companies are allowed to charge what it costs them to instigate the collection. And that's more a hell of a lot like $8 and 30-some dollars. They don't like it. Credit card companies don't like it. But I'm saving American families $20 billion a year with all the junk fees I'm eliminating. Folks at home, that's why the banks are so mad. It's $20 billion in profit. I'm not stopping there. My administration has proposed rules to make cable, travel, utilities, and online ticket sellers tell you the total price up front, so there are no surprises. It matters. It matters. And so does this. In November, my team began serious negotiation with a bipartisan group of senators. The result was a bipartisan bill with the toughest set of border security reforms we've ever seen. Oh, you don't think so? Oh, you don't like that bill, huh? That conservatives got together and said it was a good bill? I'll be darned. That's amazing. That bipartisan bill would hire 1,500 more security agents and officers, 100 more immigration judges to help tackle the backload of 2 million cases, 4,300 more asylum officers, and new policies so they can resolve cases in 6 months instead of 6 years now. What are you against? $100 more high-tech drug detection machines to significantly increase the ability to screen and stop vehicles smuggling fentanyl into America. That's killing thousands of children. This bill would save lives and bring order to the border. It will also give me and any new president new emergency authority to temporarily shut down the border when the number of migrants at the border is overwhelming. The Border Patrol Union has endorsed this bill. The Federal Chamber of Commerce is, yeah. You're saying low. Look at the facts. I know you know how to read. I believe that given the opportunity for a majority in the House and Senate would endorse the bill as well, a majority right now. But unfortunately, politics has derailed this bill so far. I'm told my predecessor called members of Congress in the Senate to demand they block the bill. He feels political win, he viewed it as a political win for me and a political loser for him. It's not about him, it's not about me. I'd be a winner, not really. Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself. I understand. But look, if we change the dynamic at the border, people pay these smugglers $8,000 to get across the border because they know if they get by and let into the country, it's 6 to 8 years before they have a hearing. And it's worth taking the chance of the $8,000. But if it's only 6 weeks, the idea is it's highly unlikely that people will pay that money and come all that way, knowing that they'll be able to be kicked out quickly. Folks, I would respectfully suggest my Republican friends owe it to the American people, get this bill done. We need to act now. And if my predecessor is watching, instead of paying politics and pressuring members of Congress to block the bill, join me in telling the Congress to pass it. We can do it together, but that's what here's what he will not do. I will not demonize immigrants saying they are poison in the blood of our country. I will not separate families. I will not ban people because of their faith. Unlike my predecessor on my first day in office, I introduced a comprehensive bill to fix our immigration system. Take a look at it as all these and more. Secure the border, provide a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, and so much more. But unlike my predecessor, I know who we are as Americans. We're the only nation in the world with a heart and soul that draws from old and new. Home to Native Americans, whose ancestors have been here for thousands of years. Home to people of from every place on earth. They came freely. Some came in chains. Some came when famine struck, like my ancestral family in Ireland. Some to flee persecution, to chase dreams that are impossible anywhere but here in America. That's America. And we all come from somewhere, but we're all Americans. Look, folks, we have a simple choice. We can fight about fixing the border, or we can fix it. I'm ready to fix it. Send me the border bill now. The transformational moment in history happened 59 years ago today in Selma, Alabama. Hundreds of foot soldiers for justice marched across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, named after the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan, to claim their fundamental right to vote. They were beaten, they were bloody, and left for dead. Our late friend and former colleague, John Lewis, was on that march. We miss him. But joining us tonight are other marchers, both in the gallery and on the floor, including Betty Mae Fikes, known as the voice of Selma, the daughter of gospel singers and preachers. She sang songs of prayer and protest on that bloody Sunday to help shake the nation's conscience. 5 months later, the Voting Rights Act passed and was signed into law. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But 59 years later, there are forces taking us back in time. Voter suppression, election subversion, unlimited dark money, extreme gerrymandering. John Lewis is a great friend to many of us here, but if you truly want to honor him and all the heroes who marched with him, then it's time to do more than talk. Pass the Freedom to Vote Act, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And stop denying another core value of America, our diversity across American life. Banning books, it's wrong. Instead of erasing history, let's make history. I want to protect fundamental rights. Pass the Equality Act. And my message to transgender Americans, I have your back. Pass the PRO Act for workers' rights. Raise the federal minimum wage, because every worker has a right to a decent living more than $7 an hour. We're also making history by confronting the climate crisis, not denying it. I don't think any of you think there's no longer a climate crisis. At least I hope you don't. I'm taking the most significant action ever on climate in the history of the world. I'm cutting our carbon emissions in half by 2030, creating tens of thousands of clean energy jobs, like the IBEW work is building and installing 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations. Conserving 30% of America's lands and waters by 2030. And taking action on environmental justice fence line communities smothered by the legacy of pollution. And pattern after the Peace Corps and AmeriCorps, I launched the Climate Corps to put 20,000 young people to work in the forefront of our clean energy future. I'll triple that number in a decade. To state the obvious, all Americans deserve the freedom to be safe. And America's safer today than when I took office. Year before I took office, murder rates went up 30%. 30% they went up. The biggest increase in history. It was then, through my American Rescue Plan, which every American voted against, I might add, we made the largest investment in public safety ever. Last year, the murder rate saw the sharpest decrease in history. Violent crime fell to one of its lowest levels in more than 50 years. But we have more to do. We have to help cities invest in more community police officers, more mental health workers, more community violence intervention. Give communities the tool to crack down on gun crime, retail crime, and carjacking. Keep building trust, as I've been doing by taking executive action on police reform and calling for it to be the law of the land. Directing my cabinet to review the federal classification of marijuana and expunging thousands of convictions for the mere possession, because no one should be jailed for simply using or have it on their record. Take on crimes of domestic violence. I'm ramping up the Federal Enforcement of the Violence Against Women Act that I proudly wrote when I was a senator, so we can finally end the scourge against women in America. There are other kinds of violence I want to stop. With us tonight is Jasmine, whose 9-year-old sister Jackie was murdered with 21 classmates and teachers in an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas. Very soon after that happened, Jill and I went to Uvalde for a couple of days. We spent hours and hours with each of the families. We heard their message, so everyone in this room, in this chamber, could hear the same message. The constant refrain, and I was there for hours meeting with every family. They said, do something. Do something. Well, I did do something by establishing the first ever Office of Gun Violence Prevention in the White House, that the Vice President is leading the charge. Thank you for doing it. Meanwhile, my predecessor told the NRA he's proud he did nothing on guns when he was president. Oh. After another shooting in Iowa recently, he said, when asked what to do about it, he said, just get over it. There's his quote, just get over it. I say, stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. I'm proud we beat the NRA when I signed the most significant gun safety law in nearly 30 years because of this Congress. We now must beat the NRA again. I'm demanding a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. Pass universal background checks. None of this. I taught the Second Amendment for 12 years. None of this violates the Second Amendment or vilifies responsible gun owners. You know, as we manage challenges at home, we're also managing crises abroad, including in the Middle East. I know the last 5 months have been gut-wrenching for so many people, for the Israeli people, for the Palestinian people, and so many here in America. This crisis began on October 7th with a massacre by a terrorist group called Hamas, as you all know. 1,200 innocent people, women and girls, men and boys, slaughtered after enduring sexual violence. The deadliest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust, and 250 hostages taken. Here in this chamber tonight are families whose loved ones are still being held by Hamas. I pledge to all the families that we will not rest until we bring every one of your loved ones home. We also we'll also work around the clock to bring home Evan and Paul, Americans being unjustly detained by the Russians and others around the world. Israel has the right to go after Hamas. Hamas ended this conflict by releasing hostages, laying down arms, could end it by releasing the hostages, laying down arms, and surrendering those responsible for October 7th. But Israel has Israel has a added burden because Hamas hides and operates among the civilian population like cowards under hospitals, daycare centers, and all the like. Israel also has a fundamental responsibility, though, to protect innocent civilians in Gaza. This war has taken a greater toll on innocent civilians than all previous wars in Gaza combined. More than 30,000 Palestinians have been killed, most of whom are not Hamas. Thousands and thousands of innocent women and children, girls and boys, also orphaned. Nearly 2 million more Palestinians under bombardment or displacement. Homes destroyed, neighborhoods in rubble, cities in ruin, families without food, water, medicine. It's heartbreaking. I've been working nonstop to establish an immediate ceasefire that would last for 6 weeks to get all the prisoners released, all the hostages released, to get the hostages home and ease the intolerable and humanitarian crisis and build toward an enduring, something more enduring. The United States has been leading international efforts to get more humanitarian assistance to Gaza. Tonight, I'm directing the U.S. military to lead an emergency mission to establish a temporary pier in the Mediterranean on the coast of Gaza that can receive large shipments carrying food, water, medicine, and temporary shelters. No U.S. boots will be on the ground. A temporary pier will enable a massive increase in the amount of humanitarian assistance getting into Gaza every day. And Israel must do its part. Israel must allow more aid into Gaza to ensure humanitarian workers aren't caught in the crossfire. And they're announcing they're going to have a crossing in northern Gaza. For the leadership of Israel, I say this: humanitarian assistance cannot be a secondary consideration or a bargaining chip. Protecting and saving innocent lives has to be a priority. As we look to the future, the only real solution to the situation is a two-state solution over time. And I say this as a lifelong supporter of Israel. My entire career, no one has a stronger record with Israel than I do. I challenge any of you here. I'm the only American president of Israel in wartime, but there is no other path that guarantees Israel's security and democracy. There is no other path that guarantees Palestinians can live in peace with peace and dignity. And there's no other path that guarantees peace between Israel and all of its neighbors, including Saudi Arabia, with whom I'm talking. Creating stability in the Middle East also means containing the threat posed by Iran. That's why I built a coalition of more than a dozen countries to defend international shipping and freedom of navigation in the Red Sea. I've ordered strikes to degrade the Houthi capability and defend U.S. forces in the region. As Commander-in-Chief, I will not hesitate to direct further measures to protect our people and our military personnel. For years, I've heard many of my Republican and Democratic friends say that China is on the rise and America is falling behind. They've got it backwards. I've been saying it for over 4 years, even when I wasn't president. America is rising. We have the best economy in the world. And since I've come to office, our GDP is up, our trade deficit with China is down to the lowest point in over a decade. And we're standing up against China's unfair economic practices. We're standing up for peace and stability across the Taiwan Straits. I've revitalized our partnership and alliance in the Pacific. India, Australia, Japan, South Korea, Pacific Islands. I've made sure that the most advanced American technologies can't be used in China, not allowing to trade them there. Frankly, for all this tough talk on China, it never occurred to my predecessor to do any of that. I want competition with China, not conflict. And we're in a stronger position to win the conflict of the 21st century against China than anyone else, for that matter, than any time as well. Here at home, I've signed over 400 bipartisan bills. There's more to pass my unity agenda. Strengthen penalties on fentanyl trafficking. You don't want to do that, huh? Pass bipartisan privacy legislation to protect our children online. Harness the promise of AI to protect us from peril. Ban AI voice impersonations and more. And keep our truly sacred obligation to train and equip those we send into harm's way and care for them and their families when they come home and when they don't. That's why the song Support and Help of Dennis and the VA, I signed the PACT Act. One of the most significant laws ever, helping millions of veterans exposed to toxins who now are battling more than 100 different cancers. Many of them don't come home, but we owe them and their families support. We owe it to ourselves to keep supporting our new health research agency called ARPA-H, and remind us that we can do big things like end cancer as we know it, and we will. Let me close with this. Yay. I know you don't want to hear any more, Lindsay, but I got to say a few more things. I know it may not look like it, but I've been around a while. When you get to be my age, certain things become clearer than ever. I know the American story. Again and again, I've seen the contest between competing forces in the battle for the soul of our nation, between those who want to pull America back to the past and those who want to move America into the future. My lifetime has taught me to embrace freedom and democracy, a future based on core values that have defined America: honesty, decency, dignity, equality, to respect everyone, to give everyone a fair shot, to give hate no safe harbor. Now, other people my age see it differently. The American story of resentment, revenge, and retribution, that's not me. I was born amid World War II, when America stood for the freedom of the world. I grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware, among working class people who built this country. I watched in horror as two of my heroes, like many of you did, Dr. King and Bobby Kennedy, were assassinated. And their legacies inspired me to pursue a career in service. I left the law firm and became a public defender because my city of Wilmington was the only city in America occupied by the National Guard after Dr. King was assassinated because of the riots. And I became a county councilman almost by accident. I got elected to the United States Senate when I had no intention of running at age 29. Then vice president, our first black president. Now president to the first women vice president. In my career, I've been told I was too young. By the way, they didn't let me on the Senate elevators for votes sometimes. Not a joke. And I've been told I'm too old. Whether young or old, I've always known what endures. I've known our North Star. The very idea of America is that we're all created equal, deserves to be treated equally throughout our lives. We've never fully lived up to that idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I won't walk away from it now. I'm optimistic. I really am. I'm optimistic, Nancy. My fellow Americans, the issue facing our nation isn't how old we are, it's how old are our ideas. Hate, anger, revenge, retribution are the oldest of ideas. But you can't lead America with ancient ideas. It'll only take us back. You lead America, the land of possibilities. You need a vision for the future and what can and should be done. Tonight you've heard mine. I see a future where defending democracy, you don't diminish it. I see a future where we restore the right to choose and protect our freedoms, not take them away. I see a future where the middle class finally has a fair shot and the wealthy have to pay their fair share in taxes. I see a future where we save the planet from the climate crisis and our country from gun violence. Above all, I see a future for all Americans. I see a country for all Americans. And I will always be president for all Americans because I believe in America. I believe in you, the American people. You're the reason we've never been more optimistic about our future than I am now. So let's build the future together. Let's remember who we are. We are the United States of America. And there's nothing beyond our capacity when we act together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It didn't embarrass you, did I?
Mr. President, Senate was working with Absolutely. Thank you for making the climate change.
That's why I'm working so hard to really help.
Hey, thank you. We're going to get it back. Baptist preacher tonight.
I'll tell you what.
You are the Baptist preacher tonight.
I'll tell you what Jim Eason once said to me. He said, what would old Jim Eason do for you, Delaware? I said, Mr. Chairman, someplace you'd help and someplace you'd hurt. He looked at me and said, I'll come and campaign for you again. Whichever helps.
Come on, good job. Good job. Good job, great job. Great job, great job. Be lively. That was a sermon tonight.
Good to see you. Thanks. Good to see you. Thanks.
Great job.
Thank you.
You knocked it out of the park. Great work.
No, there's no team strength.
Great job, Mr. President. When we get that halftime, so y'all can get in there. Let me see you.
By the way, I've been in constant contact with you. Here's what I worry about with Ukraine. If we pull away, the rest of Europe's going to stand up. They're looking for us. And this is something we're going to find. I was playing around with Ukraine in 90 hours. You're on the other. Nobody
We're going to get a deal done on the train. We have to. Yes. There's no. Good job on the morning. Thank you.
Thank you. You give me kind of gold.
Oh, yeah. I'm sticking with it.
No, I really mean
No, really. Thank you, sir.
it. This guy with you does too.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Good. It was amazing. You did a good job. You were right on.
Yeah, you were on fire. You were on fire.
Nobody's going to talk about cognitive impairment now.
Yeah. You were on fire, too.
Kind of wish sometimes there was cognitive impairment.
You did well. Very good.
Hello. All right. My friends, my name is Haley St. John. I am in place of Shane right now. He will be in 5 minutes or so. I'm his co-host on the North of Richmond podcast. If you guys have never seen the North of Richmond podcast, it's something that we've been working on together on all of the streaming platforms. I've been reading some of your comments here. Been loving every single one of them. Diane, you've got a lot to say, Miss Diane. I absolutely love it. Trump 2024. I think we can all agree that this was a farce. I mean, we all can see how he speaks to the American people. We can all see his demeanor in front of people. I'm not sure how all of you think about it. Oh, you're welcome, Diane. It's just ridiculous. I heard today from my dad that it turns out that they hop him up on Adderall. Okay, so having been a child who was on stimulants for ADHD from the ages of 4 to like 17, no, it doesn't fly. It's not good. It's not good for his health. It's not good for his mental health or the dementia that he's going through. It's unacceptable. And the fact that they are willing to put him on these pharmaceutical grade stimulants that are methamphetamine based is just not only bad for him, but like just, oh my gosh, like I can't imagine. Is anybody else sick and tired of seeing the elder abuse at this point? Like and I know that we all hate Biden. But from like a standpoint of someone who has worked in the special education field, and then also, and I'm sure Shane will speak to this when he comes on, he used to be a registered nurse. You guys all know that. This is not okay from a medical community standpoint and from a societal standpoint. Like, we're seeing elder abuse on a national and worldwide stage right now. And it's sad. And my heart does not feel good watching this. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but yeah, Mike Johnson's face the whole time was like, oh my God. And while I was listening to this, I was scrolling through TikTok, just seeing like what people were saying. And one of my good friends, Rodeo bull riding mom, she put out a video where somebody took a filter of zombies, like Walking Dead filter, and put it on all of them. And it was just, oh my God, it was so good to see. It was funny to see Mike Johnson as a freaking zombie, dude. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, Mike Johnson's face was absolutely just deadpan. Like, At least from what I saw. It was just ridiculous, dude. Like this. And I agree with you, Diane. He's already proven what a liar he is. We're able to show his track record. I'm honestly surprised that this took so long for them to put out. We're always expecting the State of the Union to happen at the beginning of the year, right? We're always expecting the State of the Union to be sometime within January. And I didn't even realize until about this week that people were talking about how the State of the Union hadn't happened yet. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Where is our State of the Union? Like, what is going on here? Like, it's because they had to prepare for it, right? They had to make sure that he had his cue cards. They had to make sure that he knew his stage entrance and his stage exit, right? It's ridiculous at this point. And going back to what I was saying about elder abuse a few minutes ago, like this is exactly what this is. This is elder abuse on a worldwide international stage. And no elder person in the position that Joe Biden is in should have to go through this. And my heart is not for it. My heart is not for it. And as much as we hate Joe Biden, there is still that ethical aspect of this. You know what I mean? Like there is a good thing and there is a bad thing to what's going on here. The good thing might be that the world now knows what exactly is going on, and they've known for a good time what's going on. Okay? The bad thing is that, unfortunately, it is. Thank you, Diane. It shows how heartless his own wife is. Thank you. Miss Jill Biden. And I hate that her name is Jill because my own daughter's name is Jill. Like, it frustrates me. Absolutely frustrates me. It looks like Shane is here, so he's gonna hop in here. But like it's to
Okay.
a point where we can't let this go on anymore. Okay? And we need to start putting our feet down as American citizens and saying enough is enough. Because the elder abuse at this point on an international stage is heartless. It is astounding. It is horrendous. And with that, I'll let Shane take it away.
Yeah, well, thank you for keeping the seats warm. But
yeah, I got you.
I mean, to definitely go back to the beginning, I'm gonna throw up a quote that came out because this is like cue and point. This is like 3 minutes into the speech, and the first thing that he says is the threat to democracy must be defended. That happened at 9:32 Eastern, literally minutes after starting his speech. First blunder. So, my question to the Biden team, the people that actually
So
put this,
then it
okay, is it you that froze or me?
Oh no. I think it was me.
Oh, it was you? Well, my internet's been spotty all day, but I mean, if you look at just a blatant disrespect.
I know.
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. Apologies,
But
friends.
I mean, the threat to
My
democracy
Wi-Fi
must.
is not that great.
What's that? Oh yeah.
Oh, I just said my
Turn the
Wi-Fi
volume
is
up.
not that great. I'm working on
Yeah,
finding
I had
a
turned up the
live
volume
stream
so I could
feed
hear
for
you
the
clearly.
Republican rebuttal. Oh, no, you're fine. I'm working on finding a live stream for the Republican rebuttal to the State of the Union for us, so we can live stream that for you guys too.
Check RSBN.
All right.
I'm gonna look.
Anyway, what were you saying? Sorry.
I think a lot of it is really kind. I mean, the way they trot him out, hopped up on Adderall, and about 20 minutes into his speech, all of a sudden, the medication started wearing off.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, the doses that they're giving this guy are incredible. So your maximum dosage for Adderall is only supposed to be 105 milligrams. I have heard a number almost 3 times that is what they're giving him.
As if I.
Don't know
As
how
if
true it
I.
is because I'm
And
not his
having
doctor.
been
But
right. Well, and having been somebody who's been on Adderall, I can tell you, like, my dosage for Adderall was so minimal. Like, it was less than 5 milligrams. Like, absolutely. And it's been so long now that I don't remember the exact dosage they had me on, but like, it was less than 5 milligrams. So the amount that they must have him on is insane. It's got to be absolutely insane. And the fact that they think that this is okay. Yes, Miss Diane, they pumped him all the way up. Exactly. They pumped him all the way up to the point that one of his first statements was that the fight against democracy must be defended. Okay? And it wasn't even the fight for, it was the fight. What was the quote, Shane? Remind me. It was the fight
I'll put it up on the screen.
for democracy, or the fight. Yeah, put it up on the screen, because the threat to democracy. Thank you. The threat to democracy must be defended. Okay. So the entirety of their narrative for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 months has been the threat to democracy this, the threat to democracy that. Okay. If there is a threat to democracy, truly, why does that threat need to be defended? Like, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the aspect that they think that there is a threat to democracy. Here's something that nobody seems to be talking about, except for those of us in the conservative community. We're not a democracy, friends. We are a constitutional
We're a
republic.
constitutional republic.
Exactly. We have a constitution and an electoral college for a reason, and it is for the checks and balances to the system that is necessary in order for our government to run. Now, the other thing that came out this week
And then
is go for it, Shane. Sorry.
just sticking with the State of the Union, the Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia confronted President Biden on the floor about Laken Riley and said, "Say her name," which is the exact same line that the Democrats used in regards to Breonna Taylor under the Trump presidency. And then she handed him a commemorative pin, including a photo of Riley. And then she added, "Laken Riley, say her name, Mr. President," before the president moved on. Biden later held up the pen and said Riley's name during a speech. referring to her alleged murder as an illegal, which is the first time that he has really put out or even talked about illegal aliens in the country. And then he pivoted right then to discussing this border bill that has been held up in the House and in the Senate because Republicans refuse to go along with it, which is a de facto amnesty bill, because it allows a president to by himself say, you know what, we're gonna grant citizenship to 5,000 illegals. But at that point, they don't call them illegals; they asylum seekers, and they have those asylum people to just rubber stamp those claims through. The second they, and this is a part that people have to understand, that the second you get your asylum stamp, you are automatically granted a green card. And if you are granted a green card within 7 years, you are a citizen, barring any major hiccups like a criminal record. So when we talk as conservatives about it, we have to be very blunt that this is a solid path that they're giving for illegal aliens, for citizenship. And we can't sustain 13 million people a year.
Nope. No, we can't. And we recently had a similar situation in Colorado. So for those of you watching, I'm in Colorado. In Broomfield, Colorado, we had a Jose Guadalupe Menjivar Alas appear in court for a drunk driving incident where he killed a mom and her 16-year-old son, leaving her other son, Melissa Powell, and her 16-year-old son, Riordan, was in a Mazda minivan that was crashed into by Menjivar Alas's Toyota Tundra. He was a drunk driver. Okay. And he had been deported 4 times. 4 times deported, came across the border illegally every single time. And this last time he killed 2 people. They found multiple empty beer cans in his car. And I'm not trying to take away from Laken Riley's story in any way, but these are just a few of the stories that we are seeing because of the open border situation. These are just two of the stories, okay? And out of these 2 stories, 3 people are dead. How many more are there?
It's where we make hard decisions. It's where we share the good, the bad, and the ugly of our days. It's where we laugh together. And it's where we
Diane says Biden makes up his own rules. This is sad.
I found a stream.
Here we go. We're going to go ahead and Diane, I love your comment. This is sad. There has been so many murders and assaults and thefts, and they are just let go. Exactly. They are. We're going to go ahead and start the live stream for the Republican rebuttal. Okay, so we're going to come off screen here and we're going to let you guys listen.
I'm waiting for the video to start.
All right. No, I agree with you. And I think, honestly, the DA, Diane, I think the DA in New York City, Alvin Bragg, is to single-handedly be blamed
what my story would entail
for Laken Riley's
think about what the American dream
death.
can do across just
That's
one
my
generation,
personal opinion.
in just one lifetime. It's truly breathtaking.
Here we go.
Right now, the American dream has turned into a nightmare for so many families. The true, unvarnished state of our union begins and ends with this. Our families are hurting. Our country can do better. And you don't have to look any further than the crisis at our southern border to see it. President Biden inherited the most secure border of all time. But minutes after taking office, he suspended all deportations, he halted construction of the border wall, and he announced a plan to give amnesty to millions. We know that President Biden didn't just create this border crisis, he invited it with 94 executive actions in his first 100 days. When I took office, I took a different approach. I traveled to the Del Rio sector of Texas. That's where I spoke to a woman who shared her story with me. She had been sex trafficked by the cartels starting at the age of 12. She told me not just that she was raped every day, but how many times a day she was raped. The cartels put her on a mattress in a shoebox of a room, and they sent men through that door, doors, and hours on end. With this happening in America, and it is past time, in my opinion, that we start acting like it. President Biden's border policies are a disgrace. This crisis is despicable. And the truth is, it is almost entirely preventable. From fentanyl poisonings to horrific murders, there are empty chairs tonight at kitchen tables just like this one because of President Biden's senseless border policies. Just think about Laken Riley. In my neighboring state of Georgia, this beautiful 22-year-old nursing student went out on a jog one morning, but she never got the opportunity to return home. She was brutally murdered by one of the millions of illegal border crossers President Biden chose to release into our homeland. Y'all, as a mom, I can't quit thinking about this. I mean, this could have been my daughter. This could have been yours. And tonight, President Biden finally said her name, but he refused to take responsibility for his own actions. Mr. President, enough is enough. Innocent Americans are dying, and you only have yourself to blame. Fulfill your oath of office, reverse your policies, end this crisis, and stop the suffering. Sadly, we know that President Biden's failures don't stop there. His reckless spending dug our economy into a hole and sent the cost of living through the roof. We have the worst inflation in 40 years and the highest credit card debt in our nation's history. Let that sink in. Hardworking families are struggling to make ends meet today. And with soaring mortgage rates and sky-high childcare costs, they're also struggling to how to plan for tomorrow. The American people are scraping by while President Biden proudly proclaims that Bidenomics is working. Goodness, y'all, bless his heart. We know better. I'll never forget stopping at a gas station in Chilton County one evening. The gentleman working the counter told me that after retiring, he had to pick up a job in his 70s so that he didn't have to choose between going hungry or going without his medication. He said, I did everything right. I did everything I was told to do. I worked hard. I saved. I was responsible. He's not alone. I hear similar concerns from fellow parents, whether I am walking with my friends or whether I'm at my kids' games. But let's be honest, it's been a minute since Joe Biden pumped gas, ran a carpool, or even pushed a grocery cart. Meanwhile, the rest of us see our dollar and we know it doesn't go as far. We see it every day. And despite what he tells you, our communities are not safer. For years, the left has coddled criminals and defunded the police, all while letting repeat offenders walk free. The result is tragic, but foreseeable. From our small towns to America's most iconic city streets, life is getting more and more dangerous. And unfortunately, President Biden's weakness isn't just hurting families here at home. He is making us a punchline on the world stage. Look, where I'm from, your word is your bond. But for 3 years, the president has demonstrated that America's word doesn't mean what it used to. From abandoning our allies in his disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan to desperately pushing another dangerous deal with Iran. President Biden has failed. We've become a nation in retreat, and the enemies of freedom, they see an opportunity. Putin's brutal aggression in Europe has put our allies on the brink. Iran's terrorist proxies have slaughtered Israeli, Jews, and American citizens. They've targeted commercial shipping, and they've attacked our troops nearly 200 times since October, killing 3 US soldiers and 2 Navy SEALs. Meanwhile, the Chinese Communist Party is undercutting America's workers. China is buying up our farmland, spying on our military installations, and spreading propaganda through the likes of TikTok. You see, the CCP knows that if it conquers the minds of our next generation, it conquers America. And what does President Biden do? Well, he bans TikTok for government employees, but creates an account for his own campaign. Y'all, you can't make this stuff up. Look, we all recall when presidents faced national security threats with strength and resolve. That seems like ancient history. Right now, our commander-in-chief is not in command. The free world deserves better than a dithering and diminished leader. America deserves leaders who recognize that secure borders, stable prices, safe streets, and a strong defense are actually the cornerstones of a great nation. Just ask yourself, are you better off now than you were 3 years ago? There's no doubt we're at a crossroads, and it doesn't have to be this way. We all feel it. But here's the good news. We, the people, are still in the driver's seat. We get to decide whether our future will grow brighter or whether we'll settle for an America in decline. Well, I know which choice our children deserve, and I know the choice the Republican Party is fighting for. We are the party of hardworking parents and families, and we want to give you and your children the opportunities to thrive. And we want families to grow. It's why we strongly support continued nationwide access to in vitro fertilization. We want to help loving moms and dads bring precious life into this world. Wesley and I believe there is no greater blessing in life than our children. And that's why tonight I want to make a direct appeal to the parents out there, and in particular to my fellow moms, many of whom I know will be up tossing and turning at 2 a.m., wondering how you're going to be in 3 places at once and then somehow still get dinner on the table. First of all, we see you, we hear you, and we stand with you. I know you're frustrated. I know you're probably disgusted by most of what you see going on in Washington, and I'll be really honest with you, you're not wrong for feeling that way. Look, I get it. The task in front of us isn't an easy one, but I can promise you one thing, it is worth it. So I am asking you, for the sake of your kids and your grandkids, get into the arena. Every generation has been called to do hard things. American greatness rests in the fact that we always answer that call. It's who we are. Never forget, we are steeped in the blood of patriots who overthrew the most powerful empire in the world. We walk in the footsteps of pioneers who tamed the wild. We now carry forward the same flame of freedom as the liberators of an oppressed Europe. We continue to draw courage from those who bent the moral arc of the universe. And when we gaze upon the heavens, never forget that our DNA contains the same ingenuity that put man on the moon. America has been tested before, and every single time we've emerged unbowed and unbroken. Our history has been written with the grit of men and women who got knocked down. But we know their stories because they did not stay down. We are here because they stood back up. So now it's our turn, our moment to stand up and prove ourselves worthy of protecting the American dream. Together, we can reawaken the heroic spirit of a great nation. Because America, we don't just have a rendezvous with destiny. We take destiny's hand and we lead it. Our future starts around kitchen tables just like this, with moms and dads just like you. And you are why I believe with every fiber of my being that despite the current state of our union, our best days are still ahead. May God bless you, and may God continue to bless these United States of America.
And that was Republican Senator
I have no words.
Yeah, it's
It's like neither side sees us, friends. It's like neither side sees us. It's like neither side represents us. It's like they don't understand what we're about. Sitting there listening to that, it made me start crying because I wasn't understanding at first who she was. Because I've never seen her face before, and I had to text Shane, and I'm like, "Wait, what's her name?" Turns out she's a rhino in training. Okay. She wants to talk about TikTok and how this president wants to ban TikTok, but then makes a TikTok account. How many? How many of them have made TikTok accounts at this point? How many?
well, I can tell you how many congressional leaders I actually follow on TikTok.
Yeah, it's a good amount. A good amount of
I
people.
follow
There's
319 congressional leaders on both
exactly.
sides of the aisle in both chambers. So
Exactly.
when we
And
talk about this stuff, it really drives home the point that, you know, right now I actually use ChatGPT to find out how many US accounts there are on TikTok. There are 314 million users on TikTok from the United States. 314 million. Granted, many of those users are multis. So even if you figure, let's say that every account or every person had 3, you're still talking 100 million users. Of that, there is 70 million TikTok shops that are associated with the United States for an estimated $7.6 billion spent just in TikTok alone
right. Well, and let's
last
kind of
year.
refine those numbers just a little bit. The numbers that I've been hearing the last couple of weeks are about 170 million of actual active TikTok users, of Americans who utilize TikTok every single day, and that number is up by 20 million per what they were talking about users-wise last year when they wanted to implement the Restrict Act. So, there are more users
Yeah,
than
but when you're talking,
last summer.
okay, so we're gonna do a little bit of math because I know
It's a
some people
little
like to
bit
do some math.
over well, and it's a little bit over the amount of people that we have in the American population, at least what's counted, okay? And so when you hear these government officials talking
Every
about it's just hypocritical
so,
talking about this.
but okay, so tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. That's what the left and the right have, or that's what the left has said many, many times, right? Well,
Yep.
if they're going to tax the rich, let's do some math. 25%, that is what the effective rate for on or self-employed people are. Every person who owns a TikTok shop is considered self-employed, correct?
Correct.
If $1.7 billion were spent on TikTok shop last year, that is $425 million in taxable revenue tax revenue into the United States coffers. So why would you shut that down? That is 1/100th of the total GDP. See, when you're talking about national security, that's another space that I spent a good portion of my life dealing with, and I really
Yeah.
like to touch on that because I'm telling you, they're talking about TikTok being a national security risk, and you know what? There is truth to it, but I'm gonna share a little bit more information. Who owns Cambridge Analytica? Oh yeah, that's right. It's owned 65% by the CCP.
Yeah.
Oh,
China owns us
where have you heard the
already.
name Cambridge Analytica? That's Facebook.
Many
That was a Facebook
places.
scandal that happened years ago.
Not just that, but
So when we
if
talk
if
when we
you
talk
guys are
about
as old as me and Shane, you will remember being in your research paper freaking like unit in high school where they were like Cambridge Analytica this, Cambridge Analytica that, like put your bibliography together, use this, use that, like no.
But when we talk about national security, we have to understand that we go out to the lake, we take a picture of ourselves at the lake. Guess what? There's something called a geotag, and it's been on every single phone, every cell phone that you have had. This phone is a Galaxy S23 Ultra. There's been
Same.
geotags on every single phone since the very first Android phone came out.
Yep.
So, okay, let's talk national security. So, I log into my phone. You log into your phone. Every fingerprint, everything that you ever do on your cell phone is logged. 100%. It is transferred into data. It goes into these massive servers. And the only reason I know this is because I've built apps. I've built apps on these cell phones. I know what data they collect. And even the data that isn't specifically stated, you look in the fine print and guess what? It's there. When you turn your phone on to log into it for the very first time, you have to, there's what's called the EULA agreement. If you don't hit accept, you don't use your phone.
No.
So if you don't accept, you don't have a phone. Well, if you read the fine print going all the way, you go all the way through, and you'll find out that it will literally state this device can be used to track you, and this is given to data experts from this agency, this agency, this agency, and it's several companies. But if you look at those companies are front organizations for the FBI, the CIA, and the NSA. So the CIA cannot operate on American soil. It's against the law. It's against international law for them to actually operate on United States soil. So how did they get around that? Oh, well, we created the NSA because the NSA just monitors communications, right? Wrong.
No.
They don't monitor communications. They monitor all your geotags. And then there's an office called a National Geospatial Office. That is not even talked about ever. But what is their goal?
Of course not.
To track every American citizen globally.
Mm.
So you could
Oh,
be
yes.
out in the middle of the steppe in China. You could be on the tundra up in Sweden, Norway, Canada. You could be out in Siberia. You could even be down in the Sahara, anywhere in the world, and they can track you
Could be in the
within
middle
1/10
of Antarctica, and they will be able to track you if you get that far. They won't let you get that far, but
within. But literally, they can track you down to 1 foot from where you're at.
mhm. I believe it.
People say, "Oh, well, I'm gonna shut off my phone. They can't track me." There's a chip in your phone that has a battery source of its own. It is always
Mhm.
responding. Do you know why your phone
Yep.
slows down towards the end of its life? Because that battery is dying. You
Yeah.
have to go and replace your cell phone, which replaces your tracking device.
Yep.
The only true way to not be tracked is to get rid of these, which are very handy. I enjoy having my cell phone on me.
Yep.
You have to get rid of this.
Yep.
You have to get rid of these, or your AirPods, or your Galaxy Buds, or anything electronic. You have to get rid of it if you don't want to be tracked. So tell me, Congress, tell me, the Senate, where is our national security risk? We've already given up our privacy on Facebook. We gave up our privacy on MySpace. We gave up our privacy on Twitter. We gave up our privacy on TikTok. We gave up our privacy on every social media platform, dating app that we've ever been a part of.
And not
We have
just
given
that,
up our
but
privacy.
having cell
And guess
phones
what?
in the beginning, like to begin with, having cell phones, our privacy is gone.
Yeah, they can listen.
There's
They can listen to everything that we
no
say.
way.
So when we talk about national security, we have to remember that it's if you look at the text of the bill, which it will never come out. Here's why. And this is the most insidious part. They're going to pass it under what's considered a 402 bill, which is a national security bill, which classifies
Mm.
the text of the bill. And then they pass it as a resolution, so it's not even a law. It goes up to Joe Biden, it is signed, and then it becomes de facto law, even though they can be sued and it can be removed. So I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah.
So yes, there's anti-static bags, and there's what they call a Faraday cage. Those, so, and the RFID trackers and preventers and stuff like that, they work to some degree. They don't work in all instances. If
Mm-mm.
there's enough will, they will find it.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing that people need to understand about this is that it's not about whether or not like at this point it's about freedom of speech. Okay? I myself have been a TikTok creator for about 4 years now, trying to share and spread information, share the truth. I've gone through 3 different accounts. I know people who have gone through hundreds of accounts at this point in time. Kramer says if any of you guys follow him on TikTok, he and I used to be friends, or not TikTok, but Instagram now. He and I used to be friends on TikTok, and he went through over 100 accounts. Harley Jackson went through, or John Harley on TikTok, he's gone through almost 100 accounts at this point. It is not about national security at this point in time. It is not. There is no way that this is about national security. At this point, it is about us speaking to each other on a platform that we can share information in a timely manner and be able to get it out in the fastest way possible. And they want to stop that. Like wholeheartedly, full stop.
So I'm gonna make I'm gonna
Like,
send I'm gonna send ByteDance an email
do it.
with an offer.
Oh,
Basically, here's what the offer is. I take 100% control of the company. They receive 50% of the revenue off the ads. The other 50% goes
ads
to
only.
the platform and develop ads only. The rest of the revenue goes to developing the platform and keeping the platform on. I spend $1 and take control.
Do it.
By doing that,
See what they say.
it goes from Chinese control to they go to a minority party, and because they're a minority, they no longer are the quote unquote national security. We transfer everything to all US servers. So all the information in the United States that is created in the United States stays in the United States.
But let's also get Oracle out of it. Because they're puppets of the government.
Yeah, if we're going to
we know
ban
that.
Yeah, but the thing that we have to so the implementation of a TikTok ban, and I'm gonna they can't outright ban it right away. First of all, that's against the law. And even if they
Exactly.
passed a law saying that, it'd be appealed right away and it wouldn't happen. So time frame. We would literally have to raise the money to put together a server farm
Mm-hmm.
that would be able to house the infrastructure necessary to create this. And if we could pull that together, you're talking one of the greatest feats that is similar to the Elon Musk X takeover.
Let's work on it. Let's figure it out. Let's put videos out on TikTok. Let's crowdfund. Let's start a Give Send Go, because we don't use GoFundMe. Not after the Ottawa thing. We don't do that. Let's start a Give Send Go. Let's figure it out. Diane, I know you'd be all
Yeah.
over it. Diane says, what about those Chinese balloons snooping, quote unquote?
Okay, so
I mean, honestly, Miss Diane, they're irrelevant at this point. Past the point of balloons.
I'm gonna tell you guys
It's
something
insane.
that you probably don't understand and you don't know because it's not really public information. I mean, it's public to if you know where to dig. But the Chinese have 3 low Earth orbit satellites that have been flying over the United States.
Yep.
For going on 3 decades. So for anybody freaking about the balloon, yeah, it's kind of a big deal because it's noticeable. But the fact that we have 3 satellites above us that have been monitoring everything in the US for 30 years, longer than most. I mean, there's quite a few people here that would have been younger, quite a bit younger at that point in time. But the Chinese have had satellites. geosynchronous satellites above us for 30 years.
Yeah.
So for these satellite balloons, honestly, the only reason that balloon story made headlines is because people saw them. As much as I don't like China, and as much as I hate a lot of the things that our government does, I'm gonna call an ace and a spade a spade. We don't. Everything that we have that we claim is so national security, and I would be willing to challenge any U.S. senator, any House of Reps individual that wants to get up in here. I will interview you on camera, and you can tell the American people how and why you believe that this TikTok ban is okay, and how and why it's deemed a national security issue.
Exactly.
If you're not willing
Because
to do
it's
that,
not, and we know it's not. Well, and if they're not willing to do that, then it just shows their true colors.
exactly.
Like, if the representatives are not willing to come and explain it to us why they are willing to ban a entire social media platform that 170 million Americans utilize every single day, multiple times a day. Remember how last year they came out with this speculation that the 150 million Americans spend a good 90 minutes to hours a day, 90% of their media consuming time on TikTok instead of other platforms. Why is that? Why is that? Remember, that was one of the arguments in favor of the Restrict Act and passing the Restrict Act. And for those of you who don't know, you can follow me on TikTok at The Criminal Element, and I have a playlist on there reading the Restrict Act word for word. Okay? You can see exactly what they said in that bill on my page. Just search the hashtag The Criminal Element, you will be able to find me, and you can read it. Okay? So if or when this bill text comes out, you best believe I will put it out on my page.
Well, there is a little bit of breaking news.
It's ridiculous at this point. We see right through it. Oh, what is it?
There is some breaking news. The president of Hungary is traveling to the United States. Who's he coming to meet?
Why would the president of Hungary be coming here?
To meet somebody. Who would he be coming to meet?
I have no idea, Shane. You're going to have to enlighten us.
So, Hungary's President Orban to meet with Trump, not Biden, on visit to U.S. courting foreign policy.
Hold the front door. Wait, say that again for the people in the back.
Hungary's
waiting.
President Orban to meet with Trump, not Biden, on visit to the United States courting foreign policy.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
it's
So
a Hungarian.
I don't
So
understand.
Hungarian
I have no
Prime Minister
words.
Viktor Orban. Yeah, hold on. I'm going to read this. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is expected to visit former President Donald Trump at his Florida home of Mar-a-Lago, or the Winter White House, on Friday, but is not scheduled to meet with President Biden or visit the White House during his trip, courting potential foreign policy in the United States. This reported last week by the New York Times. Orban's trip to
What?
the U.S. comes without invitation from the White House, according to The Guardian. The Hungarian Prime Minister is expected to speak at a panel with the leader of the conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation, on Thursday before heading to Trump's West Palm Beach estate.
Wow. I am fascinated by this. Yes.
President of Brazil and Argentina. Argentina is a big one too.
You're talking about Melee, Diane? I think his name's Melee. President of Argentina. Not Brazil, but Argentina. Yes. Okay. Okay.
Oh, and Vladimir
So,
Putin made an
Melee.
endorsement for who he wants to be the president. He endorsed Joe
did.
Biden.
We knew he would. What? No, he didn't.
Oh, yes, he did.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Yep, he did. Oh, yes, he did.
Put
He's
it up
able to
on
do whatever
screen.
the fuck he wants with. I am
It
going to
doesn't
find the
matter.
exact quote, but
Find it, put it up on screen. I guarantee you he fucking didn't.
oh, I will screenshot that and
Put it up. Putin, Miss Diane. No, there's no way. There's no way. Okay, if he endorsed Biden, if President Putin endorsed Biden, okay, for those of us who have been following Putin's speeches, we know he's talking to us in the majority of his speeches. When he is talking to the Western world, he is talking to the American people. He's told us not to give up our guns. He has been talking about Trump nonstop. Put this up here. I need to make this bigger. I can't see it. Because it's so small. Putin jokes Biden should be not necessarily an endorsement, Shane. It's not necessarily
should
an
have thanked.
endorsement, okay? Putin jokes Biden should have thanked him. It's not necessarily an endorsement, okay? Even though it says Putin jokes Biden should have thanked him for endorsement over Trump after SOBs, whatever it changed here. Putin endorses
Okay.
what more predictable Biden as preferred presidential candidate for 2024. This has to be a power play. It's got to be a power play. Putin knows what's at stake for the American people. or he would not have backed the state of Texas. He's just playing games at this point.
But
Yeah, that's my reaction.
it is news. It is, but it is news.
He's just playing games at this
It
point.
is.
If he truly
He's playing
endorsed
games with the
Biden,
media, but
okay, and this is coming from somebody who has been watching Putin's speeches for the last 4 years, okay? I've been watching the translations, I've been translating them myself. This is not like this is not what Putin truly believes. I guarantee it. He is playing a
okay.
political game on a international scale here. All right.
Okay. Do you want to know something? He can push Biden around. Of course, he's going to endorse Biden.
Yes, please.
He can't push Trump around, so he's not going to endorse
See?
Trump. Trump is more
Political game.
erratic. Yes,
Mhm.
and endorsements are always political games. So
Well,
yes,
yeah.
he absolutely endorsed Biden.
Let's see. Diane says he respects Trump and they can negotiate and actually think Putin is waiting for President Trump to get back in office. I would agree.
And
Miss Diane,
I-
you
I'm
are
gonna-
not the
I'm gonna be
typo queen.
honest.
It's me. It's me. I'm the typo queen, not you.
Okay,
You should
gonna-
see my
I'm gonna
comment section
just speak to this real quick.
on TikTok.
So
Do it.
if and guys, I'm a Trump supporter through and through. I've never made any bones about it. But I'm gonna just
Mm-mm.
throw this out there. It's a lot easier to respect somebody when they're holding a gun to your head. And with Trump,
I
as
still wouldn't
love him, hate him.
respect them, but I hear you.
With Trump, you didn't know if he was going to pull that trigger. And that's where there's a healthy amount of fear that goes with respect. With Joe Biden, there's no fear and there's no respect. But they know they can get away with whatever the fuck they want. So they do. Which led to the invasion of Crimea in 2014. It's also what led to the invasion of Ukraine in 2020 or 2021 after Joe Biden took power.
2022.
So when
yes.
I say that he endorsed him,
Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Or no, it was
he
2022.
is endorsing the weaker.
February of 2022.
Okay, I stand corrected.
I think so.
But when I say he endorsed him, he is absolutely
Regardless.
endorsing the weaker of the two candidates because he can get away with whatever the heck he wants. He couldn't get away with it with Trump, and
Right.
that's why he didn't endorse Trump. So
Okay, see, and
endorsements
now
are
this
political
makes a
games.
lot more
We can
sense.
all So yeah, we can holler and scream all we want, but yes, he most certainly did endorse Joe Biden.
Wow.
I know.
See, and
Like
now that
I was
you've
literally
explained that, it makes a lot more sense. I was mad at first. I was like, no way. No. But this makes a lot
Well,
more sense now.
y-
He's
yeah.
playing a game, friends. He's not actually endorsing Biden.
they're
He's playing a
they're
game.
all playing games. They're all
Of course
playing
they
games.
are.
That's the thing.
And I know that,
Politicians
but
hate you.
it's frustrating to hear at first. I don't know. It's frustrating to hear at
Well,
first.
that's why we keep the cotton out of our ears. That's why we keep the cotton out of our ears. so we can hear it the first time.
Yeah.
But
I heard it
as
the
much
first
as
time,
much as
bro. I heard it.
as much as I'd love to stay on this live stream
It just
all night long,
frustrated me.
you have a life.
Yes.
I have to get to bed. I have to get kids off to school in the morning. But
Yes.
I hope the live stream was a little bit informational.
And I
for you
got to write
guys.
more for the
And
podcast.
Yes,
It was.
we are working on that too. And I'm sorry it didn't come out on time, but we will have it out very soon. But as always, you have a pen and a microphone. It's time to use them. The silent majority can no longer stay silent.
Mm-hmm. No.
Get out and get active.
Yep. There are many
And Diane
platforms
and
at
everybody
your
else that are here,
disposal to use.
Yep. And for everybody that's over on X, hit that follow button. And everybody everywhere else, hit
Yeah.
the follow button. We will see you guys again next time.
Yes. Yes. Much love. Stay safe, stay awake, stay alive. Follow us on whatever platforms that you can. Our episode for North of Richmond is going to be at least a day or two late. We're going to have to film it tomorrow night. Apologies. But we will get it out there. Like Shane said, use your microphone. Get on whatever platform you have at your disposal. Okay? Disposal. Wow.